This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Speaking of Microsoft, the Microsoft ecosystem has had some interesting things happen in it over the last couple of weeks, and we've had some gap time, so let's talk about some of the stuff that's happened. First, the man known to Microsoft enthusiasts simply as Panos has left the company just days before the company's big Surface and AI event, which was conspicuous, not just because he had tweeted a couple of weeks earlier about his excitement about being at the event, but because a part of the event was going to be around new Surface devices, and he is the godfather of Surface. Surface was his baby. So him not being there for the event was surprising. And leaving just before it was odd. Then, at the event itself, Microsoft made the announcement that the purpose of Surface was going to be changing. Instead of being the experimental, crazy town that Surface had always been, trying weird things like the Surface Book with its, watch hinge and all kinds of, the Surface Duo and the Neo that never actually made it to market, but they messed around with, and headphones and earbuds, and that wasn't going to be the case anymore. There were a couple of products that they were going to be focused on: productivity, normal things, laptop, tablet, Surface Book, Surface Laptop Studio. That was going to be the focus. The idea of Panos not being there started to come into view a little bit, right? That was his artistic expression, was the oddities that were the Surface line of product. And then there were rumors. Where was he going? Was he just done with design? Or was there another company where his services could be useful? It was definitely the second one. The rumor had been around basically since he announced that he was leaving Microsoft, that he had been courted by Amazon. And this week, that was confirmed both by him and by Amazon. He will be joining as the... I can't remember if he's the executive director or EVP, or he is he is the head of Amazon's devices and services. So you may remember that a couple months back, there were some huge layoffs at Amazon. It hit the devices and services division the hardest. Everybody except iRobot inside of their robotics division, gone. About half of the Alexa team, actually I think it was like 60% of the Alexa team, gone. The devices team got cut severely too. And there were rumors, there were rumblings that maybe Amazon was giving up. No, seems like not. Seems like they've changed their mind now that they've got somebody who's willing to be as weird with hardware as they are. Remember, this is the company that put Alexa in a wall clock. She's responding to me from the other room. She heard her name.
Yeah, you should say. There should be like, you know what it should be? There should be, what do you call it? An escape string or something for talking.
Yeah. Some sort of an escape character for her name.
Escape character.
On GNC Week in Review, we usually refer to her as Mrs. A.
Yeah, that's a good point. But if she's Mrs. A, who is she married to?
I've always assumed Cortana.
Okay. Okay.
There was that weird relationship between the two, right?
Yeah, there was. There was. It was a little distant for a couple, but who knows? Some couples. Um,
But I mean, Amazon is known for weird products in their hardware, their robotics. I think Panos is a perfect fit. If Amazon wants to stay in that weird realm and Microsoft doesn't, I think this is a perfect fit for him.
uh, well, I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, look, he is going to. I mean, he has the vision to probably have him do something a lot more serious.
Yeah.
I don't know, or like Alexa is kind of fallen off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so now we're seeing the concept, so maybe they see this opportunity like, hey, we could get out of the business, or we could reinvigorate by bringing in someone who's a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they brought in someone who's a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, and I understand. It sounds like he was frustrated that Microsoft really wasn't investing in its hardware. I mean, the Surface announcements weren't that exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
If you look at
so
if you look at that 4 week window, the story that it tells me is he was told last minute that the division was changing. And he's like, I just had a call with Amazon. I'm gonna go over there. That's that's how it felt to me. Like that's the story that I
or
heard.
maybe it was going on for maybe his conversation with them was going on for a while, because
Could be.
it's a little. I mean, if you're Amazon, you have to think they're not just going to hire him because he's
Sure.
available. They're going to hire
Sure.
him because they're planning to do something in the business. Um,
Right. But I mean,
and
they may have been having talks. Panos was on the fence, and then Microsoft says, "Oh yeah, we're Duo's gone. Neo's never gonna see the light of day. We're getting rid of headphones. We're getting rid of earbuds. We're just gonna focus on the core four." And he's like, I don't want to do that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, wasn't he also in charge of Windows though? Was he not excited
Yes,
about that? I mean,
he was
I'm not
definitely in.
excited about it, but
He was definitely in charge of Windows. And Windows 11 was one of his big things. It didn't go over the way that he had hoped, because the UI for Windows 11, we can all pretend that it's Windows 11, but it was Windows 10X. It's 100%. Sun Valley was the Windows 10X interface for the Surface Neo that eventually made its way over to the public. But that was the 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 Surface Neo, the Surface Duo. Those were his two big things. The Duo did not catch on. I've got one of those around here. That never caught on. The Neo never saw the light of day, mostly because of COVID getting weird in the way. But yeah, he did have a couple of kicks in the stomach there.
yeah, yeah, you know, so I could see that, particularly if he wants to pursue something with hardware, wants to do something different and innovate. He's also probably reached that time in his career where he's got, you know, I'm sure he's got a lot of shares. I'm sure he's got,
Mm-hmm.
money. So I'm sure his decision is based on like, what's interesting for me?
Right.
What's a challenge? What do I get to do something and do the kind of thing I like to do? And so, yeah, I think this is a good, um, good move for him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good
Not
move for him.
necessarily a good move for Microsoft.
Yeah. Good move for him. Good move for Amazon. Um, I think
Yes, a
I
great move
think
for
this
Amazon.
I think this division that has been mistreated, let's say, because I read a whole thing. They had a goal and a vision for what Mrs. A was going to be, and it hasn't become that. People don't use it for what they had hoped. But people use it for a lot of things. And I think they just haven't been able to wrap their heads around what the service has become. And, I think Panos, if I remember correctly, was involved with the early or the later days of Cortana. So, I mean, he has experience in that space as well. And, Cortana was able to do a lot of interesting stuff that this one could do if they wanted it to. So, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. We might see innovation, actual development into that ecosystem now, which I think would be a pleasant change of pace.
I mean, sure. On the other hand, I don't really want more from Amazon personally, but they as a company probably want to get
Mm-hmm.
more hooks into you everyone as a consumer. So, I feel like they have enough hooks into me already. And I remember when they. Do you remember? I'm sure you remember when they almost came out with or they did come out with a Fire Phone, right?
Yes.
And
Oh, poor
nobody
Fire
bought
Phone.
that thing. Nobody bought that, and I was really disturbed by the concept of it because. Let's see if this makes me brighter. I was really disturbed by the concept of it because it was okay. I'm trying to put
I
more light on my face because
I
right now I
legit
look like
thought
so dark.
I legit thought you were reaching for a Fire Phone. I had my fingers crossed.
That would be super cool, Aaron. Now you can either see my reflective head or a shadow over my face. I don't know which is better. So so anyway, the the no, I don't have a Fire Phone here. That would be a lovely piece of history. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that they gave up on it rather
Mm-hmm.
than trying to create a new Fire Phone and make it thinner and lighter and whatever. Because they could do that. They could
Yeah.
absolutely do that, or could have done that.
They
Um,
could have they could have
but it
Surface
was
Duo 2.
yeah. The but I think the thing is, I think it's nice. I don't know. It's good when a company realizes like, hey, this is where the market wants me and this is where the market doesn't want me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or is not a good place for me. So like being in your phone was not a good I mean, good for them, not
Yeah.
good for the consumer because you have something that's essentially, primarily a store and you're having it like your phone is, I don't know. I like to think that my phone is more than just a front end interface to buying stuff on Amazon,
Sure.
right? Um,
For
so
for most of us it
so that
is. For one of our team it isn't. It's exactly that.
right, so it just I don't know. I can't for that reason I can't take like their electron like I feel like their electronics are kind of designed to like, oh hey, really what we'd really like you to do with this is buy something on Amazon. Um,
And that's exactly what they thought that their smart speakers, I'll just call it that, uh, that's what people were going to use it for. And they absolutely do not. And it was a huge
because it's
shock to
not
them.
well, I think that one of the larger truths here that I won't belabor the point anymore about is that maybe people don't want to have a conversation with everything that they own. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to have maybe a conversation UI, whether it's a voice conversation UI or a text conversation UI, is not the ideal UI for every
Mm-hmm.
scenario. Like it's cute and people thought, wow, I can talk to this person, blah blah blah. And at a certain point it's very like I don't know, I guess there are probably people who feel like they're I don't know, like they're wealthy, they have servants or something because like, look, I
Sure.
can order this thing around and tell it what to do, like if I had a butler. But the reality is sometimes it's just easier to flip the light switch than to ask something than to repeatedly ask something to flip the light switch,
Sure.
right? Um, So sometimes it's just easier to go onto an interface and look for what you want and buy it than to have a conversation with it. Like, you know, and I think one of the problems is a lot of the vendors think that, oh, if we just made the speech recognition better, we made the it more lifelike, more human-like, people would use it. And I'm not convinced of that. Like I mean, like for example, now I don't know. There are people who are wealthy, and maybe some of them are the ones making these decisions. Like, well, not Bill Gates now because he's not working, but if you're Bill Gates, you don't go, you probably don't go grocery shopping ever. You probably don't even go
Sure.
grocery shopping online. You're probably like, hey, personal chef, this is what I like to eat,
Yeah.
um, and you have people for that. But the rest of us, we're a little bit more DIY, I think, and it's not necessarily like gratifying to be like, oh yeah, I have to describe to this assistant exactly what I want. It's better to see a menu of choices and be like, oh, this is what I want.
Sure.
Um, so I'm not sure that, like I think this is the same thing that we're seeing with ChatGPT, right? There was so much interest in it and the interest died down a little bit
Hmm.
because like the chat interface is
Yeah.
not necessarily the interface that people want. It's just that they want to push it on everyone, and it is a shiny object. So is Panos going to make a shinier object? I mean, they could certainly have it Amazon elect Lady A uh, do more, be more lifelike, uh, empower it with, build something like a GPT-4 into it. I'm sure
Right.
that's a no brainer to do. But is that, I mean, some people will like that.
Hmm.
Is that going to necessarily change people's behavior to buy things? I'm not so sure about that.
Right. Or maybe they figure out that there's a marketplace, there's a market for them not in that, right? And that they can lean in hard to what people are actually using it for and enjoy that and figure out how that becomes their thing. Who
Yeah.
knows? It will not be a quick turnaround. Hardware and services, devices and services do not pivot quickly. They're a little bit more like a cruise ship. They need some time to to pivot. So we will see over time what comes of Panos' time over at Amazon. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course, hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.